This is the Voice of Turkey's English language transmission, broadcasting from Ankara in the 39-meter band between 1930 and 2030 UTC on 6050 kHz to Europe, between 2130-2230 UTC in the 31-meter band from 9610 kHz to South Asia and Australia, between 23 and 24 UTC in the 49-meter band and on 5960 kHz to Europe, Eastern USA and Canada, and in the 31-meter band on 9660 kHz between 1730 and 1830 UTC to Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan. The Voice of Turkey is also beamed between 4 and 5 UTC in the 49-meter band and on 6125 kHz to Europe, the USA, Eastern Canada and Cuba, between 4 and 5 UTC in the 41-meter band on 7,285 kHz to Iraq, Syria, Iran and the Arabian Peninsula. You can listen to us over the Turksat 3A and 4A satellites and on the internet at trt.net.tr through the Voice of Turkey link. Please note that transmissions broadcast between 22 and 23 UTC and between 3 and 4 UTC have been pre-recorded. Our email address is englishdesk@trt.net.tr.
Before we begin, let's have a quick look at the headlines. Erdogan says Turkey is ready to host Ukraine-Russia crisis summit. First U.S. troops to boost NATO forces in Eastern Europe arrive in Germany. Turkey calls for international probe on Greek pushbacks after migrant deaths near border. Moroccan rescuers at most critical stage in saving boy stuck in well. And China's Xi meets 4 more heads of state in Olympic diplomacy push. And now details of the news. President Erdogan says Turkey is ready to host Ukraine-Russia crisis summit. Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has reaffirmed his offer to host the Ukraine-Russia crisis summit using a visit to Kiev to stress his support for Ukraine's territorial integrity. Quote, unquote, Turkey is ready to do its part to resolve the crisis between two friendly countries that it neighbors on the Black Sea, Erdogan said after talks with his Ukrainian counterpart Volodymyr Zelensky on Thursday, adding that Turkey continues to support the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Ukraine, including Crimea. Erdogan suggested that Russian President Vladimir Putin could travel to Turkey after attending Friday's opening ceremony of the Beijing Winter Olympic Games. Speaking to reporters after talks with Ukrainian counterpart Volodymyr Zelensky, Erdogan repeated his idea of holding a Putin-Zelensky summit in Turkey aimed at easing fears that Russia is preparing to invade Ukraine. Before the joint news conference, the top authorities from Turkish and Ukrainian sides signed a total of 8 cooperation agreements, including a free trade agreement and memoranda of understanding. Ukraine and Russia have been locked in conflict since hostilities in the eastern Donbas region broke out in 2014 after Russia illegally annexed the Crimean Peninsula. Russia has also recently amassed tens of thousands of troops near Ukraine's borders, prompting fears that the Kremlin could be planning another military offensive against the former Soviet republic. First U.S. troops to boost NATO forces in Eastern Europe arrive in Germany. The first U.S. troops reinforcing NATO allies in Eastern Europe and Germany amid a Russian military build-up on Ukraine's border have arrived in Germany. Quote, unquote, soldiers from the 18th Airborne Corps arrived in Wiesbaden today, a spokesperson for the U.S. military's European Command said on Friday. In a statement, the spokesperson said that they would establish a headquarters in Germany to support 1,700 paratroopers meant to deploy to Poland. Quote, unquote, these are the first of 2,000 soldiers to arrive in Europe following the Pentagon's announcement of additional forces moving from the United States to Europe in support of our NATO allies, the statement said. On Wednesday, U.S. President Joe Biden ordered nearly 3,000 extra troops to Poland and Romania to shield Eastern Europe from a potential spillover from the Ukraine crisis. According to the Pentagon, A striker squadron of around 1,000 U.S. service members based in the German town of Websdr will be sent to Romania. Around 1,700 service members, mainly from the 82nd Airborne Division, will deploy from Fort Bragg, North Carolina, to Poland. Turkey calls for international probe on Greek pushbacks after migrant deaths near border. Turkey called on the international community on Friday to investigate Greek pushbacks of irregular migrants after at least 19 forced to death at the border between the two countries. Quote unquote, the EU keeps silent in the face of Greece's cruel practices against irregular migrants and turns a deaf ear to our calls, the Turkish Foreign Ministry said on Twitter. Quote unquote, we call on the international community to investigate Greece's actions in violation of human rights and not to remain indifferent to these despicable acts, the ministry added. A total of 19 irregular migrants were found frozen to death near the border earlier this week, stripped of their belongings, including clothes and shoes, before being pushed back to Turkey by Greek border officials. Greece, calling the incident a tragedy, denied involvement, with Migration and Asylum Minister Notis Mitarachi saying on Twitter that any suggestion that Greek forces had pushed the victims back would be patently false. Ankara has severely criticized Athens over its inhumane treatment of migrants and accused it of disregarding the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Turkey's Interior Minister Süleyman Soylu had shared several photos of the site where the migrants were found, with the victims' lifeless bodies blurred.